Jakyle.
Yeah.
Talk to me. Where you been? What's happening? What are you drinking? Is that coffee?
Decaf with no oat creamer, trying to lower my sugar,
Okay.
black.
Yes. I am drinking my espresso tonic
Ooh, okay.
with maple syrup.
Ooh, I like that twist. That's good. Well, man, I just got back a week ago from China. I was a month in China.
A month.
Yeah.
What were you doing?
Nexus stuff, um, and playing jazz too. And the two kind of fit together like a glove.
Yeah.
So I was reconnecting with people that are precious to me. Many of them were students of mine because when I first went to China, tell a little bit of my story for our listeners.
Yeah.
First went to China to teach jazz at the largest music school in China in 2016 and spent 6 years in Beijing and connected with students that I've stayed in touch with. One of my students graduated and then moved back to his hometown, which is near Hangzhou. So he's actually living in Hangzhou now. So Beijing, 25 million people, Hangzhou, 10 million people.
Wow.
And so I spent 2 weeks with him, and he's opened a music school, and then he's interested in creating Nexus groups where he lives. And, short description of Nexus. Nexus is the nonprofit I'm affiliated with that creates communities where we connect art to life.
Yes.
And
And what I like to say about that is
yeah,
another possible world,
right. Yeah.
which is the work that I do, creating other possible worlds.
Yeah. No, we're in the same business.
Yeah.
The power though, one thing I discovered also on this trip, um, sometimes using, new language, new names, can be a little intimidating. A lot of folks are kind of nervous about stuff they hear about that they don't already know.
Right.
So even like the word nexus, um, often when I come into a new context and I talk about what we do, you know, I think mostly I'm able to overcome suspicion because I try to be honest and real with people, and they feel that I'm there as a authentic friend they can trust.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to monetize what I'm doing, uh, but I'm not only a friend. I mean, I'm also a friend who really believes deeply in some things that I'm trying to build with my friends.
Yeah.
So it's the life that you live. How do you not be transactional and yet really live with purpose? And so I was walking that line, which that's my life.
Yeah.
But there in Hangzhou, I'm with my student Chan Pengfeng, who I call QPF. A lot of my Chinese students, I've abbreviated their names,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I don't have to deal with the tones.
Yeah.
So QPF has a little boy now named Tian Tian, who I also christened with the nickname Double T. So now QPF calls his son Double T all the time.
Nice.
So I'm hanging with QPF and Double T and Sao Qian, his wife, and meeting with the teachers at his school and meeting with the parents of the students at his school, meeting with the students, meeting with other folks in Hangzhou who are interested in the arts. And he took me to this community that's called the Liangzhu Art Society. I'm not going to make this story too long. I'm going to make it short. So anyway, he brought me and we did a concert for these folks in a nice big space they have. And it was about, I don't know, 20 something people. And QPF plays bass and I'm playing trumpet. And then I brought along a poem, as I often do, to kind of facilitate the connection to life thing, to bring some words that have something to do about opening life. So I brought a poem that's one of my favorite poems to open up with people called Now I Become Myself by
Mm-hmm.
May Sarton, American poet, 20th century. The beginning of the poem is Now I Become Myself. It's taken time, many years and places. I've been dissolved and shaken, worn other people's faces. Now I become myself. That's the opening of the poem. So I integrated that poem into this improvisation, musical improvisation that we did, just the two of us, and shared this kind of immersive experience with this 20 Chinese friends that I'm meeting them for the first time.
Right.
And they seem to, appreciate our concert and the few words I shared. And then I was anticipating that we would just stop and then I could just kind of mix with people. Um, Now, typically when we do a Nexus kind of thing, we pivot towards a conversation that we have with people about what does this story that we just met,
Right.
whether we met it through music or we met it through a film or through a walk in the woods or whatever, but every encounter with art is a story. And then we pivot to the question, okay, what does this story say to you?
Right.
What did you notice in the story? And then the follow up question of what does this story say to your story? So first you start to notice things in the story, and then you start to notice things inside yourself. So usually we always do both of those things, but in this case, because I was meeting these folks for the first time and I didn't want to scare them, I thought, well, I won't have the formal conversation with them right now. We'll just kind of mix and we've had the encounter, but so I was getting ready to just thank them for the time together when the organizer said to me, "No, Kyle, wait. Um, we want to tell you what this experience has meant to us, meant to
Oh.
us." And we were sitting in a circle, and every single person in the circle spoke for just impromptu for a few minutes. Um, Hey, just a second, Nick. I'm on a recording. I'm recording a call. Sorry. Um, so every single person in the circle spoke for a few minutes about what the music said to them, and many of them with tears. And it just blew me away with their openness and their generosity.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's incredible. And so I had a month of a lot of stuff like that.
Well, I think that story needed to be told because one of the things that I have been spending a lot of time with is recovering the magic that got policed out of me during my graduate school and PhD work.
Hmm.
And I am learning that, and I think this is something that you hold as a core value, but I am learning that if we are not in right relationship with ourself and each other,
Hmm.
we are not going to be able to practice this project called democracy or
Yeah.
humanity
Right.
or
Yeah.
give it whatever name.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And this is something you spend your life practicing.
I try. Sometimes I don't help myself, but yeah, connecting to myself, which that alone sounds simple, but that's a deep, deep thing.
Yeah.
Connecting to yourself, um, which I've yet to plumb the depths of that.
Yeah.
Connecting to others in the community, and then there's a third thing that, in my experience, I see over and over. It's all three of these reconnectings that need to happen. My connecting with myself, with others, and then the third one to the sources,
Yeah.
to the sources of life. Call them what you want, and you can choose your sources. And your sources don't have to be my sources,
Right.
but we all have our sources, you know. And if we're not connecting to the sources, then also the other connecting is not, like you said, it's not gonna happen. And all three of them are interrelated, you know, because
Yeah.
if I'm not myself, then who is the person that's connecting with others,
Right.
right?
I for a year, well, a year ago today I was on the Camino
Right.
finding myself, and it's when I felt the great spirit beyond what is me saying, just start cooking for people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um Made Texas chili on Monday for the community,
Yeah. That's an awesome gift. I know firsthand. 'Cause you
and
cook for me. Yeah.
it was all gone at the end of the
Yeah.
night.
Right.
I made probably 4 pounds of beef chuck and smoked it on the smoker. Yeah,
Hmm.
so I do relationship with people. I do what I like to say, do life with people, by feeding people and
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
practicing hospitality in very material ways.
Hmm.
And this is something that you do as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
We spent a week together
Hmm.
in Verona last summer
Hmm.
doing life together, drinking
Waking
espresso,
waking up when we wanted to.
waking up when we wanted to, and practicing freedom.
Yeah. 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 That was a very special, unhurried week, which I don't know about you, but I have not yet had another week like that in the last year.
No, and it feels to me life keeps speeding up.
Hmm.
There's more to do now than there was last month.
Hmm. Hmm.
How, you know, how are we going to suture the wounds of the world when our political system is causing dire harm?
Right.
What does mercy look like right now?
Yeah.
How can we be with ourselves so that we can be with others?
Hmm.
It's almost pride season, and I've been getting the request to send videos. And one of the videos that I'm asked to send is, why, as a person of faith, why, as a queer person of faith, do I choose joy? And what does that look like?
Hmm.
So, folks are asking tough questions right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just echoing what you just said. And in the last 6 months, I've been in quite a bit of time in Europe, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, um, and then I've been in Thailand, been in China. I've been in different cities here in the States, and everywhere I go, there's this pervading sense of people struggling everywhere. And it seems to transcend even national politics. There's something, and it's, of course, it's not a news story.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're for the right things, probably it's always been true that to live in this world is difficult,
Yeah.
right? Um, but let me tell you another little story, okay?
Yeah.
Because you and I we're big conceptual people, but try to keep coming back to the little stories, right?
Yes.
So other people can connect with our experiences better than sometimes our abstracting
Yeah.
provides for them. So little story. So I'm feeling this pervasive, just kind of unease. And again, a lot of it I'm connecting with younger folks because a lot of people in my life are from being most of my life a college teacher. I'm used to hanging out with a lot of folks who are like the age now of my adult kids,
Right.
right? And I'm in Hangzhou playing at a jazz club with my buddy QPF and with a friend of his who studied in Holland, who's an awesome guitar player. Another friend of his who studied in Germany, who's an awesome piano player and a drummer. All Chinese brothers, all in their 20s, and me, the old guy, pops.
Yeah.
So I'm with them, and I usually talk to the audience a little bit. I try not to overdo it, but I just like to make a little verbal connection, and QPF's translating for me. And so I said to everyone, and this just happened spontaneously. I said, guys, I'm going to tell you two things that feel really important to me right now. One is I want to try to create a picture for you of what this music that we're playing tonight is about, because maybe this is the first time you're hearing jazz music. Okay. And a lot of us have our favorite pop stars, and we love to hear them sing the songs that we've heard online many times. We've memorized them. We can sing along with them. That's a beautiful experience of sharing music together. I love that experience too
Yeah.
with songs that I know and love. But I said, tonight's something different. Instead, I want you to imagine, let's go back 1,000 years, and we're on the western coast of Spain, and I'm the captain of a sailing ship, and I happen to see you there standing next to me in the harbor, and I say, "Hey, come with me on this trip. We're going into the west towards a horizon that we don't know what is on the other side, but let's take this adventure together." Okay,
Yeah.
that's what jazz is.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what jazz is. And then I told them that's the what we do. And then I said later on I want to just say a little word about why we do what we do. So we played a couple sets, and then towards the end of the evening I hadn't said anything, and then I said to the audience again with translation from QPF. I said, "Okay, guys, thank you for being such a great audience. Now I want to just say a word about why we do what we do." And I told him it's actually quite simple. And then I said what I said, and I noticed it just visually, I could tell from their facial expressions, somehow it got through what I
Yeah.
said. Okay. But there was a woman, um, when we finished the concert, who came up to me and asked me, she said, "Kyle, um, I wasn't here when you said the why. I heard you talk about the what of jazz, but the why I missed. Can you tell me what it was?" And I said, "Sure." And she was a really good English speaker, so we didn't need translation. So, and I just, really kind, uh, young woman, looked her in the eye, and we're smiling at each other. And I said to her, "Well, we're here for one reason, and that is this. We want that when you leave here tonight, you feel more than you did before
Yeah.
that it's good to be alive."
Yeah.
And when I said that to her, she physically like jumped, like, like, and
Yeah.
a tear started to roll down her cheek. And it was just, man, I mean, this. It was just a
Yes.
reminder of how these precious moments we have with
Yes.
people. You
Yes.
find their and it's no credit to me because again, I didn't think my way to this answer. It just, I think I was just like what happens when I play.
Yeah.
I'm just open, and then somehow it comes from above, and it comes through you, and the right word at the right time sometimes comes, and if you position yourself as a giver, you can have this beautiful experience of maybe saying something that really helps somebody, you know? And so that was just a precious moment that I had. Yeah.
It feels like those moments are few and far between these days, but when they happen, we need to remember them.
Mm,
Because those are the moments that we can recall and say, remember when, and that's what keeps us going.
yeah. Yeah. And don't you think a lot of people, honestly, and this is how I feel, if you ask me honestly, do I feel like it's good to be alive? Uh, Sometimes I'm not sure.
Right.
I mean, I'm tired, I'm angry, I'm scared, I'm worried. Yeah, doesn't feel good.
No. One of the things I love about you, and one of the things that, well, there are many things that I love about you. One is the jazz piece, because the first paper that I presented in my PhD program was on how how jazz can help us be better theologians.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That improvising is actually a method.
Hmm.
I am married to an improviser, a choreographer, and so I'm
Yeah,
learning
yeah.
this in real time. But the other thing I love about you is that you are a model for me as I am becoming this trans guy,
Yeah.
and that has felt very special to me and important, that I can reach out to someone who is for me. And it's something, that's something that you taught me. You were like, just be a for you person.
Hmm.
And that's how I am showing up here in Alfred. I'm just for
Hmm.
people.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
people don't know what to do with that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
That's
it's
the
not
agenda.
normal.
That's my agenda. I'm here
Yeah.
to be for you. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
people that is abnormal
yeah.
for
Right.
people to have that kind of person. But like, you taught me that, and that's just how I'm showing up here. And it's upsetting people
Yeah,
in very interesting ways. And I'm
yeah,
like, I have no agenda but just to be for you.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I aspire to that. But believe me, there's all kinds of inner crap happening
Oh,
sometimes
sure. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
does not look
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And I definitely, I felt that from the beginning, uh, from you, because as you've heard me tell the story, but it was because of your graciousness towards me that we were able to become friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
So,
we connected. Yeah, I think you heard me on the radio once in Nashville,
mhm,
and
right.
you reached out, and
Hmm.
I was not in a place where I could, it was, I don't, it was some part of the pandemic before we had fled. And then next thing I know, I'm leaving Nashville, and I write to you
Mm,
from this house that I'm staying in, and I say,
right.
"Hey, I don't know I don't know if you still want to connect, but
Yeah,
I think
I
I
did.
finally have time." And
Yeah,
you were so kind, and you said, "Yeah, it's not a problem."
yeah.
And here we are. And I think Aaron and I are trying to live out many, if not all, of the principles that you have been footprinting these
Hmm.
past 20
Hmm.
years. And
Hmm.
we come from a very sort of similar and shared religious experience,
Right.
and we remain curious about the world's wisdom.
Yeah. 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 And we're both fives,
And we're
right?
both fives. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an
Yeah.
Enneagram reference for those who don't know what implicitly know what we're talking about. We're talking about the Enneagram, which
Yeah.
is an ancient Sufi tool, wisdom tool that was popularized. I did it during my residency as a chaplain. Um, so it kind of popularized about 20 years ago.
Yeah. 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 Well, and we talk about not being transactional, but speaking of fiveness, I mean, I love you the way you are, but to be honest, I think the fact that I know when I'm hanging with you, I'm always going to learn something. I do get kind of transactional about that. Like people that I learn stuff from, I want to be with.
Yeah. 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 Well, I was telling Erin we took a walk yesterday and um she was saying how her creative partner is intimidated by her
Mm,
because Rose's experience of Aaron is that Aaron is very wise. And
mm.
I said to Aaron, I said, "Look, I get bored very quickly. I need someone who is brilliant." And so,
Yeah,
you
she
know,
is. She is because I get to hang with both of you.
yeah. And so
Yeah.
it I do like spending life in a particular intellectual register
Mm,
dreaming about
mm,
things. I like that
mm,
visionary path. Like what does another possible world look like? And we
mm,
even talked about a sharing economy when we
mhm.
were together in Verona.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that you were like, I want to learn about that. And
Right.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
I read a book on the serviceberry and how a gift economy, how nature teaches us about the gift economy.
Yes.
Now as a theologian, I have to say we are taught that creation is God's first revelation. Now, whatever you think about theism and God and whatnot, there is a
Mhm,
particular strand within religious history that says what we can see with our eyes is evidence. Okay,
mm,
let's just say that.
mhm,
That's evidence for a
mhm,
God.
mhm,
If that is true and the serviceberry is producing a model for how we should live together,
mhm.
why are we not paying more attention to what is around us?
Yeah. 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 Amen. Yeah. No, that word God. Uh, I have problems with it sometimes.
Totally. Totally. Totally.
uh,
I was just drawing on one
yeah,
particular sliver to
yeah.
try to make a point.
No, no, no. I love it too, but I find actually this is something that I'm learning about because I have so many friends that I've journeyed with for decades,
Yeah.
like particularly like Italian friends of mine
Yeah.
who grew up in a kind of a particular, generally speaking, uh, this I'm painting with what do we say? I'm painting broadly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm generalizing, but many of my friends they had a religious background that wasn't very spiritual.
Mhm.
Okay, and kind of one show in town in Italy. Okay, and that one show in town dynamic often is not a great dynamic.
Yeah.
And so actually, this was a source of a lot of my learning from my Italian friends about spirituality, because I had a lot of Italian friends who had turned the page on religion a long time ago, and they associate in their experience that word God. They feel it in that religious
Mhm.
context, again, which I suspect part of the problem is that it's not so much connected to a personal spiritual experience. It's connected instead to kind of a uh, religious structures that weren't
Yeah.
weren't life giving. Okay,
Right.
so my friends, they don't ever talk about God,
Hmm.
pretty much. Um, I do once in a while because it's still the word, and they accept me doing that, but they know I'm not the typical kind of religious guy.
Right.
But I still want to use that word, and it's just kind of a reference to like the word I used before, to like our sources. What are
Yeah.
the source? What are the sources? But I can use a different word. Um, when I was in Thailand and I we did a house concert, I played a tune. I told my life story to my new Thai friends. We were in someone's large living room with three generations together, 30 Thai friends. And you know how good Thai food is?
Yes.
Well, homemade Thai food,
Oh man. Yeah. When are we going?
pad Thai, I mean
Yeah.
sticky rice and mango, like from the
Yes.
mangoes that are ripe that they just picked off their tree.
Yes. When are we going?
I know. Okay, well we can talk about it. But anyway, so I'm hanging with them and I play a little jazz concert for them. I'm by myself. Usually when I play jazz, I have other people. This
Yeah.
time I'm just by myself. And I decided I'm going to just try to tell my life story with them and use four songs. And one of the songs I played, actually, you know what? I got my horn right here.
Nice.
One of my songs, this is my little pocket trumpet for
Yeah.
taking in the car. One of the songs I played was this. I talked about how I met jazz music when I was 11 years old.
Okay.
And then I played. And I kept going. All right. So that was a jazz song. And then I played. Mess that up. Puccini from La Boheme.
Yeah.
Okay. And I talked about this life adventure I had moving with my family to Italy, where we lived and raised our kids. And then I played a song. Okay, so I played that. And then I talked about this spiritual experience I had when I was 18, where I had met someone who got me thinking about, for the first time, about some ultimate life questions.
Yeah.
Okay, partly I think is also I'm a college student on my own now,
Yeah.
so I got to think for myself. What do I believe? What is and what isn't? So I was thinking about some of this stuff, and out of the blue, I had this spiritual experience, and here I had to choose a word, okay, where blank became real to me as a
Right.
real presence in my life.
Right.
And I chose the word love, okay? I chose the word love instead of the G word because I knew my friends um, were all Buddhist, and I thought that word would be a better word to help them feel rightly what I was trying to say,
Mm.
instead of creating a wall between
Right.
us, you know?
Right.
And it's still kind of a mysterious thing, to say that I felt this love that felt bigger than myself, this love that opened up inside of me and surprised me that I'd never felt before.
Yeah.
Now, many other, there's quite a few other human beings that have testimonies of experiences like that.
Sure.
I'm sure you have those. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's one of the things that I'm doing here with these conversations is I am talking with um a Buddhist teacher
Hmm.
to try to draw the circle wider,
Hmm.
because if we do not know how to steward all-encompassing love,
Hmm.
how will we repair the world?
Right. Yeah. If everyone doesn't matter, nobody matters.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to introduce folks to you. Why don't you tell folks who you are, your name, and where we can find you? Because we just got jumped in.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
talked for a little
Okay.
bit, then we hit record.
Yeah.
But you are a legit person with a title and a name and a vision and
Hmm.
whatnot. Also, my
Hmm.
dear friend. But
Yeah. Yeah.
help us know how we can connect with you and
Yeah. Yeah.
listen to your music and
I'm J. Kyle Gregory. The J, my folks gave me a first initial that doesn't stand for anything. And we were laughing earlier because you called me Jakyle
yeah.
because I told you the story about how I had to buy some life insurance online, and the insurance agent had to talk me through the contract and kept calling me Jakyle.
Right.
And my wife and I were trying to keep from,
Right.
exploding in laughter
That's
while
what
he
we
kept
call you
saying
now. You're
Jakyle.
Jakyle. Yeah.
Yeah, so I dig Jakyle. But I grew up in Bloomington, Indiana, college town, fell in love with jazz music, and I've been a jazz teacher and jazz musician for, gosh, 40 years now.
That's a whole
But
career, man.
yeah, but the cool thing about jazz, not like playing basketball.
Yeah.
When you're 60, you can still you get
Right.
your game.
You
You can
still got
still
your
get your
game.
game. Yeah, it can still get better.
Yeah. And Peter, who is here, and Alfred
Yeah.
is ready for you to come back.
Yeah, Peter, my brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, bless him. Yeah. So I'm a jazz guy,
Through and
and
through.
yeah, and this thing that we call Nexus was a product of learning that happened with my friends in Italy, where we are again, how do we go into life deeper in a way that doesn't exclude anybody?
Yeah.
And we found that we could do that through books and films and poems and all kinds of experiences and conversations. And so now this experience I take with me around the world. And so we're growing little Nexus circles all over the place. People can connect with me via my email. Is it okay for me to give my email?
I mean, if you want people to email you,
I don't mind. JKYLEJAZZ, jkylejazz@gmail.com. jkylejazz.com is also my website, which is not updated very often.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then the Nexus website, we have a website where we post articles.
Yeah.
So we have,
Which people should check out that.
yeah, nexusonline.org. And, there's Nexus groups now in 15 countries, often usually face-to-face meeting groups. They could be small.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's an awesome group that I've just keep hearing beautiful stories about. Three guys in Madrid, and then sometimes bigger groups, living rooms full of people in different countries, mostly in Europe, but also in China and the States. And again, we're taking the show on the road and
Yeah.
sharing it with folks. Yeah. So nexusonline.org. Also, you can find my music under J. Kyle Gregory, J space Kyle Gregory on your preferred streaming platform.
It's all a rat race. It's all a rat race.
Yeah,
Try to enjoy it live if you can.
yeah, yeah, yeah.